So Jasmine Crockett lost the Democratic primary election last night, and I can't say that I am surprised. I made a video last year. I was outside in the sunshine talking about how problematic Jasmine Crockett was. Not because she was a woman, not because she was a black woman, but it was her methods, right? I saw the flaws, right? And it led to her losing the election. You can't cry racism. You can't do that. Not in this instance. You can't cry misogyny. You can't do that, right? You lost, you being Jasmine Crockett, you lost because your methods did not work. Yeah, you had the viral moment talking about the woman's body. Yeah, you tried all the antics of dancing. You tried all the antics of constantly calling out President Trump, especially out of his name. It was problematic. But here's another thing that nobody's talking about. You are a middle-aged black woman who is not married with no children. You didn't give a good presentation along with flawed methods. You want to know why I consider President Barack Obama the greatest Democratic president ever? Is because he had the packaging correct, right? The presentation was pristine. He was married to a black woman. They had beautiful black children. Regardless of his policies, a lot that I didn't agree with, right? However, this is not to attack him as a president, but the overall packaging of him as president, second to none. Second to none. You see, the very party that you endorse, they specialize on presentation. It's all symbolism. But you didn't even get that right. And again, this is not me coming at you because I don't like you. This is not me coming from that angle. This is me coming at you because I saw your methods. They were flawed. They didn't work. But here's another issue, right? On Twitter, X, a lot of people are now highlighting the demographics of the black community, not just in Texas, but in America as a whole.
I think last night's loss taught the Democrats that we are tired of the antics. We are tired of Democrats using hip hop to pander to us. We are tired of Democrats pointing the finger at Republicans, but not actually telling us what they plan to do differently. We are tired of Democrats being loud, but not offering any loud solutions. Democrats have got to focus on the things that are important to not just super leftists, because you know the super leftist people, they're going to always vote Democrat no matter what. You need to focus on the things that are going to pull in someone like me, who is a liberal, but I'm more right here on the liberal scale, okay? Not in the middle, because I'm never going to vote Republican, but I'm also going to choose the liberal that talks about the things that I care about. One of the things that I mostly care about is the economy. I am not a happy camper when my pockets aren't looking right. Yes, I care about things like a woman's right to autonomy over her body, absolutely. But I know that when a Democrat is in office and when the United States is under Democratic rule, per se, those things are easy to fix. And not just a Democratic president, you also need a Democratic Congress. So the one thing that I think Democrats have to start focusing on, and in order to pull in people like me, or even pull people from the other side, like the people who are leaving the MAGA cult right now, and there are a lot of them, people who are leaving the MAGA cult but don't know which way to go because their beliefs aren't exactly lining up with the super leftist liberal beliefs. In order to pull some of them in, you're gonna have to focus on the economy. Okay, I'm about to give y'all a crash course on the economy because a lot of y'all don't seem to understand really simple factors on how your vote actually matters when it comes to job creation and the economy. The economy is historically better under Democrats. The reason for that is because Democrats prioritize the middle class. Now, there are way more middle class than there are poor or wealthy people. Democrats tend to prioritize the middle class because when the middle class is stable, then the entire economy is stable. When the middle class collapses, then the entire economy collapses. This is honestly the one lesson that I feel if all Americans understood this, then we all would be better off. But a lot of Americans don't understand this. Here's the thing. When the middle class is stable and doing well, they put that money back into the economy. They take trips, they buy flights, they splurge on steaks for dinner one night. They go shopping, they buy iPhones, they buy tablets, they buy computers. They put the money back into the economy, which then starts the spin cycle. Okay. It's like a cycle. It starts the cycle. You're putting the money back into the economy. Because money is going back into the economy, businesses are able to pay their employees more. Employees have more money. And what do they do when they get more money? They spend it. So it's like a cycle. It just goes on and on and on. But when Republicans are in the administration, they tend to prioritize the wealthy and the 1%. And those people prioritize padding their own pockets instead of putting the money back into the economy. For example, because I ain't no liar, okay? I'm always come with a receipt. We are under Republican rule right now. I mean, the Republicans have the presidency, they have Congress, they have the Supreme Court, they have everything. Trump is definitely prioritizing the wealthy and billionaires as well as big business. Look at Amazon right now. Take them for example. Amazon has been able to pad their money away and they've been stacking it away. But what are they doing? They've just recently laid off a bunch of people. Instead of offering raises to these people, instead of hiring more people, they laid off a bunch of people and are now attempting to replace those jobs with AI. Because the one thing you can count on Republicans to do is to be greedy at their core. That is the core of Republicans, greed. So when that happens, you start to see the middle class get nervous. When the middle class is getting laid off, they don't go out and buy steaks for dinner. When the middle class is getting laid off, they don't buy flights to travel. They don't go out and buy iPhones and tablets and computers. So then that cycle that was running so perfectly before, it starts to slow down. And it's getting slower and slower and slower until eventually it stops altogether. And the economy is either in a recession, where it's going backwards, it's in a recession, or we end up in something like the Great Depression. When the middle class does not feel safe and secure financially, they will start hoarding their money because they don't know what tomorrow looks like. And that right there is exactly what Democrats need to tap into, okay? If you want to gain voters that are coming over from the cult, that have left the cult and they're realizing like, oh my God, he didn't do anything that he promised us he was going to do. If you want to try to attract those voters, you need to focus on the economy. Okay. Stop focusing on transgender rights. And listen, I don't care what you do. Okay. With your life. I don't care. But leftists are always going to vote that way. They're always going to vote with that in mind. So you don't need to put that on a pedestal and be what you're, running for. Even women's rights. We know that leftists are going to vote for women to have those rights and to have autonomy over their bodies. You don't need to put that on a platform and be what you're running for. We need you to run with the economy in mind. Talk about that. That's all I want to hear you talk about. Every time I see you on my screen, I want to hear you talking about the economy and not just talking about how the Republicans messed up the economy and pointing the finger, but I want you to talk about exactly and specifically what you plan to do to fix the economy. Bernie Sanders recently had some really great ideas. This is what I'm talking about. I want to see stuff like this. You know what I don't want to see? I don't want to see Cardi B on a stage twerking, talking about vote for Kamala. I don't want to see Meg Thee Stallion talking about yada, 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 yada. I don't want to see that. Okay. I don't want to see Charlemagne on a news station like CNN talking about political candidates. I don't want to see that. Charlemagne has a GED and didn't even go to college. Why is he on CNN talking about politics? I don't want to see that. He doesn't speak for me. He doesn't even represent what I find valuable in the world. Politicians, we don't want to see you dancing to Not Like Us, and we don't want to see you quoting Kendrick Lamar to sound more relatable. We want to see you getting in the trenches and doing the actual work. Jasmine Crockett failed at doing the work, and that is why she lost. Yes, she was loud and boisterous with her opinions. Yes, she stood up to other Congress people. But what I didn't see her do and what we should have seen her do is negotiate better, reach across the aisle more, propose better solutions, and not just point out the problems and point the finger at someone else.
A rising voice, a bold presence, a candidate many thought has momentum. In the end, the voters of Texas said no. So what really happened? Was it identity or something deeper? Special credit to the stitched video used in this documentary.
But there's a saying in the art of war that I live by to this day, and it says, do not repeat the tactics that have gained you one victory, but let your methods be regulated by the infinite variety of circumstances. In other words, do not operate in insanity. The Bible tells us be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. The Bible is telling you to be wise as the very entity that deceived and put mankind in the very position that we are in now. Be wise as that entity, but still be harmless as a dove. What is my point? My point is this. Black community, you need to wake up, all right? One of the flaws in Jasmine Crockett's methods was she kept hollering white supremacy. You kept pointing the finger instead of looking at the issues that really affected the black community. This is why I talked about us operating in abortion. Since 1975 or 1971, over 20 million black babies have been aborted. That's a problem. Over 60% of our children grow up in single parent homes. That is a problem. We have an obesity epidemic, not just in America, but in the black community as a whole. That is a problem. The list goes on and on and on. You know what the Democratic Party showed us or told us with all these protests about ICE? They told you the quiet part out loud. They wanted you to go out here advocating for illegal migrants. Why? Because they know that black folks are now the minority of the minorities. Hispanic and Asian combined in this country make up 26% of the population now in America, while black Americans stay at 13%. So what did they tell you? They told you, go out here and advocate for our new voting power. They told you the quiet part out loud. When they had you out here advocating for Planned Parenthood, they were telling you the quiet part out loud again. We know that black people are killing their babies in the womb, which is going to continue to affect their population in this country. We want you to continue to advocate for that. So many people thought I was being anti-white when I said that President Trump will win a second term. You want to know why? Because I saw the writing on the wall with America losing its power and influence. If you say that America operates in white supremacy, why not think as a white supremacist? If you see the fact that we were losing influence globally, financially, economically, physically, mentally, education-wise, we were losing so much that the so-called white supremacists realized that, wait a minute, if we don't grab hold of this, we are going to lose our status as the supreme power in the world. So we need to do what is necessary to get somebody in office that is going to help reestablish the power and the influence that got us to where we are right now. Again, be wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. You see, the black community, we holler white supremacy so much that we don't even think like the supposed white supremacists that we say have us bound in America. See, I sound like Fred Hampton and I sound like Malcolm X. We are losing, black folks. We are losing. So Jasmine Crockett, go back, reevaluate, go get married. You need to revise your message, okay? And get back on the scene, because you do have the grit to be an effective force in Congress.
I told you, black people, and y'all don't listen to me because you let these other fools tell you that I'm an Uncle Tom Coon sellout bootlicker. I told you that your vote is gonna stop mattering. You should have been having babies and quit going to Planned Parenthood. You should be raising your young boys so they don't end up in prison. You got all of these things that you should have been doing. You should have been voting for candidates that were keeping these illegal aliens out of the country and prioritizing your community, but you didn't. Because you hate Donald Trump and you hate the white man so much that you didn't oust yourself out of voting power. This is a perfect example. Black people, you have no more power.
Let's be clear. The loss wasn't because she's a black woman. It wasn't simple about racism or bias. Voters today are asking tougher questions. What are your policies? What will you do differently? And many felt this answer never fully came. Critics argue that Jasmine Crockett focused heavily on calling out opponents, especially figures like Donald Trump, rather than clearly outline her own roadmap. In modern politics, presentation matters, but presentation without clear policies, that's where voters began to disconnect. Some moments, whether dancing clips or viral sound beats, were seen by supporters as relatable, but by others as lacking seriousness for the office she sought. Across community, especially within black voters, key issues remain urgent: economic stability, family structure, and support system, education and youth development, health challenges, including rising obesity rates. Some voters felt these issues were not addressed with enough depth. Instead, the campaign often leaned into broader themes like system, inequality. Important conversation, yes, But voters also want specific and actionable plan. There is also a growing demand for leadership that connect policy directly to real life outcomes. How do we reduce incarceration rates among young men? How do we strengthen families? How do we create long-term opportunity? For many, these answers were not clearly defined in this campaign. The Democrat Party is often known for strong messages and representation, but this race shows something important. Presentation alone is not longer enough. Voters want clarity, they want solution, and most importantly, they want authenticity backing by results. For Jasmine Crockett, this may not be the end, but a moment to reset, to redefine the message, to strengthen the policy, to reconnect with what voters are truly asking for. Because in today's politics climate, the louder voice isn't always the winning one. What do you think? Did voter reject the message or the method? Drop your thoughts in the comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to True Verdict for more deep divers like this.